yeah, we want retribution. Oh yeah, we want retribution. Oh yeah, we want retribution. Yeah, we ran out of patience. Boil up with the cold hard hatred. I can feel the vibration. Feet in the streets, it's a new sensation. I wanna break faces on the pavement. I wanna make greatness look complacent. Adrenaline awakened, I can taste it. We can make an impact, grab and then take it. Like a disease, bring them to their knees. No pain for their disease. Rage is like a weed.
Ladies and gents, I am the one and only DJ Storms, and I would like to welcome each and every single one of you to the final stream of 2023. We are streaming live on 4 different platforms across 7 different accounts. As of course, you already know who I am, Mr. Controversy, and the operator of the Best Damn X, formerly known as Twitter handle, known to mankind. And this is the official rewind for AEW Worlds End 2023, which of course streamed live yesterday evening on Bleacher Report with the buy-in, the matches for the buy-in starting at 7 p.m. Eastern Time. And back with me for my final stream of 2023. We're going to end it on a high note. Ladies and gentlemen, he is a big-time wrestling fan. He is a member of the Hardcore Sports Nation. He is a good friend of mine. Ladies and gentlemen, please help me welcome back to the channel for the final stream of the year, Mac the Giants fan. How you doing, brother?
I'm doing great, man. Thanks for having me, man. I'll say Happy New Year's to everybody out there. Hope everybody has a good time tonight. Make safe decisions, and let's move on to 2024.
We're going to move into 2024 on the highest of highs, that's for sure. And one more time, just like Mac echoed, Happy New Year. Greatly appreciate all the support that you guys have shown, especially all the support that you showed me yesterday afternoon when I went live from the Rockaway Mall in Rockaway, New Jersey for the Masters of Your Memories Con. I actually had Will Janowitz from The Sopranos. He actually decided to stop by, show me some love, answer a little bit of questions. Greatly appreciate him. Pleasure to meet some of you over there. Pleasure to meet Ray Calitri. Ray Calitri, brother, if you're watching, I greatly appreciate you. You are a legend, and I'm very, very much looking forward to seeing what you do in 2024. Mac, before we get into our festivities here, where can everybody find you on social media?
Well, you can find me right here on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, all under Mac the Giants fan, just like it's up here on the screen, MACDA Giants fan, man, across any of those platforms.
Go and check him out. He's doing some great material. I believe you got a stream later on today. Is that correct?
Yes, I do my True Blue Aftermath, do a live stream, post-game reaction following every New York Giants game. So I'll be going on right as soon as the Giants game is over today, which will pretty much be probably right after this stream is over.
Oh, it's going to be big, man. It's going to be big, that's for sure. And hopefully, and next year, hopefully the Giants won't suck as much as they have in the last couple years. I'm ready for an actual good football season for the Giants. I really am. I'm not a football season where they go 11-5 and then they choke in the playoffs. I mean, I want a real playoff team. I want a Super Bowl fucking team. I have not had that since 2012. And I'm looking forward to a new era of Giants football. And realistically, a new era of all New York sports. But regardless,
you and me both,
you can
brother.
go and check me out. You can go check me out on X and Instagram at HistoryMakerDJS. One more time, at HistoryMakerDJS, both on X and Instagram. Go check me out. on my personal Facebook as well for collaborations and business inquiries. Please send me an email. My email is, of course, stormstakeover@gmail.com, like the official DJ Storms business page. And I may just send you an invite to join the official DJ Storms posse group on Facebook. That is, all of those links are in the description. Please go and check out the links to some of my sponsorships. Brittany K, she is a wonderful human being, a big supporter of the channel. She does beautifully crafted designs and drawings of pro wrestlers from scratch on her iPad. So if you're looking for a great pro wrestling design or drawing, or if you're looking for a new Twitter ad or banner, she is your girl. Go and check her out at Brittany K5150 on X and Brittany K Designs on Instagram. And of course, corporate information system for all of your hiring needs. And to help advance your career, go contact my friends over at CIS. You can check out their website, www.cisrecruiters.com. One more time, www.cisrecruiters.com. Please make sure that you hit the like button, whether you're watching on X, whether you're watching on Rumble, YouTube, or Facebook. Hit the like button. Share the stream out on all platforms of social media, whether it be Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, Pinterest, X, Tumblr, Snapchat, TikTok, Twitch, whatever social media platforms that you may be using, because we want to get as many people in here as we possibly can. We're going to end the year on the highest of highs. Please make sure, if you haven't already done so, subscribe to my channel and the Hardcore Sports channel. We're over 2,200 subs for my channel, and we're over 900 subs for the Hardcore Sports channel. We are going to expand even more so in 2024. We're going to end 2023 on a high note, and we're going to start 2024 on a high note as well, because we doing things DJ Storm style all day, every day. And of course, when you hit that subscribe button, hit that notifications bell with a huge coup de grace, because that way you're going to know whenever I pop up on YouTube. Because whenever I pop up on YouTube, you already know what time it is. Oh, baby, it is the best time to be on YouTube. You know why? Because it's the only time that you are going to get to see this glorious sideburn shin strap combination and this beautiful mustache right here. One final time, people. One final time, we're going to light it up with this beautifully crafted magical ace black comb. Hold on, I got to blow on it. It is so sizzlating, and we're going to light it up right here with a little and a dash of and a whole lot of because like hot, fresh, steaming chicken pot pie right out of the oven, I am just so good. I am succulent and tasty, and everybody wants a piece of the Storm's Meister. But anyway, we're going to get right into the festivities here, because we certainly have a lot to go over here on the Rewind for World's End. Let's talk about 0 Hour. 0 Hour. It actually started at 6:30, and we had RJ City, Renee Young, and Jeff Jarrett. They were doing some analytics in the beginning. I have to admit, and this I'm not going to talk about too much, but I actually liked Jeff Jarrett as a pre-show analyst. I think that he's very, very knowledgeable in that position. So if they want to keep him as a pre-show analyst, I think he actually brings a nice presence to the pre-show. Not like it means anything in the overall grand scheme of things, because we're there for the wrestling rather than the analytics. But I will give Jeff Jarrett some credit. If they want to keep doing that with him going forward, I certainly would not mind. Do you want to comment on this?
I mean, I didn't honestly see the very beginning of the pre-show. I didn't catch it until right at the beginning of the ladies match, the Willow Nightingale and
Chris Statlander.
Statlander match. Yeah, Chris Statlander. That was the one I turned it on, tuned in. So
yeah. So we go into this match, and these two women actually got a lot of time. I think they got the most time out of anyone on the pre-show. I think they got about 15 minutes. So they were given a solid, and I mean a solid, hefty amount of time. This was decent. This was a decent little match. The only thing that, well, there's two things. The two things that I took away from this match is it seemed as though they were a bit nervous. I'm not really sure why, but it seemed as though that they were a bit nervous at times. They worked hard. They did what they needed to do, but it seemed as though towards the end they didn't really know what they wanted to do. And Willow Nightingale, she actually had she went for the Doctor Bomb. She didn't get it all, and it was actually a very sloppy looking botch. Thankfully, that wasn't the end of the match, and they actually ended with the actual Doctor Bomb, a clean Doctor Bomb. But I feel as though that was kind of on Chris Statlander's part. I've never really seen Chris Statlander have an off night since she's been back, but clear as day, this was an off night for Chris Statlander. It wasn't necessarily the worst match I've seen, but clearly, Chris Statlander was off, and it rubbed off a little bit on Willow Nightingale. But they delivered a decent match in the end. We had Willow mounting a comeback. She hit a nice spine buster. Willow and Statlander then traded suplexes. We had a pounce by Willow, and we had a cannonball in the corner. Statlander came back with a scissor kick. Willow then powerbombed Statlander on the apron, which looked very nice. We had Statlander with a discus lariat. She went for the 450, but she missed. We had Willow going for the Doctor Bomb, and she completely botched it. Thankfully, Statlander kicked out. Willow finally got the Doctor Bomb, clean Doctor Bomb, and she won it 1, 2, 3. Decent match, but clearly something felt off. And on the Sidelines podcast, just said that match was called on the fly. Was it? Was it called on the fly? Because I didn't know that. I did not know that. I didn't read any of the reports. I'm not sure who came out with that report. I didn't see it on X when I was surfing X before we went live. But if that was called on the fly, I mean, I can definitely see why. I think that going forward, if people can, I would highly suggest that they start planning their matches at least 24 hours ahead before they actually go into the match and have it. It's almost like if they wanted to, they could take some inspiration from Randy Savage, because I remember Ricky Steamboat talking about how Randy Savage was such a perfectionist that they rehearsed that match at WrestleMania 3 over and over and over again. So that's just something I wanted to throw out there. But Willow Nightingale got the win. That was pretty much that. What were your thoughts on this match?
I mean, I agree. It was definitely a couple of sloppy moments in the match. But I think the problem with Chris Statlander is here, honestly, I would just maybe she's was a little bit in her own head, because obviously I think it's pretty clear that there's getting ready to be some changes within her character a bit. It looks like there's potentially a potential heel turn maybe on the horizon for her. And maybe she was just having a lot of those thoughts going through her mind a little bit, and it might have just affected, just her focus on this match. But like you said, overall these ladies still put in some decent work, and it could have been a little better. But at the end of the day, it was still pretty solid. It was still a solid match for the pre-show, and I don't have too many big complaints with it. I mean, I just think Statlander just has a lot going on right now with her mind. Like I said, she's gonna have a big 2024. And I think some of it's gonna be obviously with, on a little bit of a heel run potentially here. It looks like with I can't remember his name offhand right now, but seemed to be really trying to recruit her hard. Stokely Hathaway trying to recruit her heavily. So I think that just had an effect on the match. I think she's kind of just overthinking a few things, and I mean, obviously it wasn't going to happen last night. Any kind of a turn wasn't happening last night, but just I feel like it's definitely on the horizon. And just probably thinking a little bit down the road for her a little bit.
If they want to go forth with a full-blown heel turn, then Statlander and Toni Storm for the women's title at Revolution would probably be the best way to go, with Statlander ultimately coming up short. That right there would be a nice bridge towards getting that full-blown Chris Statlander heel turn. This you could look at it as a start. And then if they really want to go full-blown heel with Statlander, you can have her lose the big one at Revolution. And Toni Storm, clearly, she should not be losing the women's title anytime soon. And you got to give her a couple of big money matches. Why not give her Chris Statlander at Revolution?
Yeah, that sounds... I'd be all about that. Chris Statlander, I felt like didn't get enough of a run with the TBS title.
Yeah,
and I think she's definitely easily one of the best women in the women's division over there in AEW, and I would love to see her get into the title mix with Toni Storm. That would be awesome with me.
Yeah. Speaking of the women's division, we had a return package for Serena Deeb. Now, Serena Deeb, apparently, she suffered multiple seizures, and thankfully she's okay now. It looks like Serena Deeb will be back in the women's division, and thank God, too, because Serena Deeb, my God, Serena Deeb was sorely missed. Serena Deeb is easily one of the best women's wrestlers that they have in AEW. And if we get her back on TV, my God, I'm telling you, the TBS championship is going to be in major, major danger for Julia Hart. You got Thunder Rosa back. You got Serena Deeb back. I mean, those two individuals. And if Athena wins, not wins. If Athena loses the Ring of Honor Women's Championship at Supercard of Honor, which I think she should, and if she gets called up, my God, Julia Hart may very well be pushed down the ladder because we got all of these women coming back. The TBS Championship is going to feel like the most important championship in all of women's wrestling.
Yeah, I could definitely see something like that. Serena Deeb she's a technician in the ring, man. Like you said, the women's division definitely missed her and missed what she brings to the table, man. And it's just good to see her back. When they had announced the package at the beginning, they were talking about a returning woman. I thought they honestly were just talking about Thunder Rosa. I mean, she's been back for a couple of weeks now, but I thought they were just talking about her and was just going to be a little thing about Thunder Rosa. But I was surprised to see that as Serena Deeb, and it's going to be definitely good to see her back. Like you said, and the women's division is going to continue to get stronger. I mean, Dr. Britt, I don't know what's going on with Britt Baker. She's got some kind of injury right now, but whenever she gets better and she can get back in the ring, it's just going to just keep getting better over there in the AEW women's division. Keep rising.
If I'm booking the TBS title division, I'm having Thunder Rosa beat Julia Hart at Revolution. That's what I'm doing.
I can see that. I definitely can see that. That seems like that's probably what we're going to build up to for Revolution, which I'm already excited for that show. Obviously, for obvious reasons with the Sting situation, I think that's just going to be an amazing show. That's going to be one for the ages, one that can't miss. Must see TV right there.
I mean, they already have like 14,000 tickets already sold. It's going to be packed. It is going to be packed.
Yeah, absolutely.
20-man battle royal. Winner gets a shot at the TNT Championship anytime. This was a very standard match, very standard battle royal, probably one of the most skippable matches on the show. Really no reason to go back and rewatch it. It's very, very hard to make a battle royal feel fresh and exciting. The only battle royal that I can honestly tell you felt fresh, exciting, and interesting was the Blackjack Battle Royal at Double or Nothing earlier this year, where Orange Cassidy defended the International Championship. That match was a great Battle Royal. That was probably undoubtedly the best Battle Royal of the entire year. There's been no Battle Royal that's been able to top it up until that point. That was excellent. But this one, really nothing of substance. Pretty much a lower mid-card Battle Royal. But they did get the ending right. And I'm glad that they got the ending right. Killswitch, the former Luchasaurus, he ended up winning the Battle Royal. We had a bunch of people in here. Angelo Parker was in there, Johnny TV, Lance Archer, Danhausen, Trent, Rocky Romero, Darius Carter, Action Andretti. Ultimately, it was Killswitch that won. I'm glad that it was Killswitch that won. I just hate the fact that they kind of wasted it in the same night. But regardless, Killswitch was the right winner here. I know what they're doing, and this is ultimately going to result in Killswitch turning on Christian Cage and becoming a babyface because he's sick of Christian Cage's bullshit. But there's really nothing of substance to this match, unless you want to comment on something that I may have missed.
Not really. I wasn't even hardly invested in this battle royal. Just like you said, it's nothing special. Definitely nothing I want to see again. And I have really no further comments on
it. Can we at least agree that the outcome was right?
Oh, no, I have no problem with the outcome, like you said, but I just hated, like you said, the way it just got squandered away all within the same, just a couple hours later. It was just pretty much wasted away, so.
Yeah. Wheeler Yuta And Hook, FTW rules match for the FTW Championship. This was easily the best match on the pre-show. Very, very solid stuff here to close out the 0 hour pre-show. Hook and Wheeler Yuta, they mesh together very, very well. I understand that people might not be the biggest fans of Yuta, and I'm not gonna sit here and say that I'm a huge Wheeler Yuta guy, but the guy can give you a good match with anyone that he steps into the ring with. I think it's about time we start putting some respect on Wheeler Yuta's name, because the guy, no matter who he's in the ring with, the guy knows exactly what he's doing from bell to bell. And the guy is undoubtedly the future of the business. When it comes to putting on great matches bell to bell, Wheeler Yuta is going to be looked back on as a workhorse, because he is not afraid to go in there with anyone and put on a great match. And that's exactly what he did here with Hook. For the 12 minutes that it went, 13 minutes that it went, it was a solid little match. Again, nothing I'm going to go back and rewatch, but it was definitely a nice showcase match for both of these individuals. We had Hook delivering a Northern Lights suplex to Yuta on the stage. Yuta then took a trash can and he hit Hook with the lid. We had an Olympic slam by Yuta for a 2. Hook then, with a stop sign, Yuta took the stop sign and bashed Hook with it. Hook tried to mount the comeback with a Northern Lights suplex. Double lariat, both men are down. We had a perfect plex by Yuta. Hook kicked out. Hook then was hit with a trash can, and then Yuta was going to throw Hook into a trash can set up in the corner. Hook reversed it, and he delivered an exploder suplex to Yuta into the trash can in the corner. The trash can barely broke, and Yuta, he landed right on his neck. Yuta then with a DDT onto the stop sign. Hook kicked out. Yuta then took a 2x4. Hook then took a hockey stick, and he broke it over Yuta's back. He then locked in the red rum with one of the pieces of the hockey stick, and Yuta ended up tapping out, and Hook retains the FTW Championship. Easily the best match on the 0 hour. Very solid stuff. If Hook keeps up this pace, I think it's about time that we get rid of the FTW Championship, get that title off of Hook, and I think we start getting him in some actual feuds on Dynamite and Collision. Even though he's young and he's got nothing but time on his hands, Hook is way too good to just be wasting away in the FTW Championship division. He's been doing this for over a year now. I think it's time that we get some new blood in the international title picture. Maybe we get some new blood in the TNT title picture. I think he would be a great candidate to take the TNT Championship from Christian Cage. I mean, that would be brilliant. And Christian Cage, he's got Hook's father at ringside on the commentary table. That right there would be a brilliant story to tell, with Christian Cage shitting on Taz right in front of Hook. The story's there. So if they want to, I think Hook and Christian Cage will make a great program for the TNT title. Either way, it's time that we get Hook away from the FTW Championship. He's above it.
I agree totally. Hook is definitely love the development of Hook. I love the way they're bringing him along, but it is about getting to be that time where I want to see him getting in some actual bigger storylines, things with a little more meaning. Not to say the FTW belt is nothing, but at the same time, it's not like the big time, you know. I mean, really to see him, like you said, getting into some. I mean, like you said, Christian. I mean, even if down the road we get him and Orange Cassidy, I mean, it's anything, just something to just get him involved in something that has a little more meaning, because I think he's really been developing well, putting some good work in the ring. And I agreed with your assessment on Wheeler Yuta 100%. When you talk about Wheeler Yuta, you nailed it with Wheeler Yuta. And I mean, look at the guys he's working with, Claudio and Moxley and Daniel and Bryan Danielson. I mean, you're working with guys like that. It's only one outcome for you, truthfully, and that's just to be great. I mean, and they're going to bring the greatness out of him. And I agree, he's definitely the future of the business, man. But Hook is right there. I think Hook is setting himself up for a big 2024, man. And I think the sky's the limit for this kid, man. He's really been impressing me since he's become a regular performer in the ring. He started off coming out, helping out his dad when they had the faction a few years ago, and he's just steadily progressed and come along. And they're doing it the right way. They're not necessarily rushing him into anything, but at the same time, they're just bringing him along and letting him just continue to get better and better, man. It's really fun to see.
Yeah, and I will give Tony Khan a lot of credit there. He's definitely played his cards right with Hook, and he has not rushed anything with him. But it's definitely time for him to move past the FTW Championship, and he'll go into 2024 with a fresh mindset. That was pretty much the 0 Hour. Yuta and Hook, clearly the best match on the 0 Hour. We then go into the main show. The main show kicked off with Brody King, Jay Lethal, Jay White, and Roosh versus Daniel Garcia, Bryan Danielson, Claudio Castagnoli, and Mark Briscoe. This was a Gold League, Blue League, All-Star 8-man tag team match, which had the runners-up in the Continental Classic go in and have an 8-man tag. I actually like the concept. I wish that we would see a little bit less of the 8-man tag, but regardless, I think that this concept is a very nice concept to go forth with going into World's End for the future. I think it's definitely something that gives the people that did not win the Continental Classic something to do, and it gives each of these individuals a nice showcase, and that's exactly what we got. We got a very nice showcase. So Lethal and Claudio, they mixed it up a bit. We had Roosh and Claudio mixing it up. Briscoe came in. He mixed it up with Jay White. Bryan and Jay White, they got into it a bit. I'd love to see that match. Brody King slammed Garcia on the floor and then got in Matt Menard's face, and he goes, "You ain't gonna do shit." I thought that was great. That was brilliant. So Roosh then came in. He mocked Garcia's dance. Garcia was then bleeding from his nose. We had Mark Briscoe making the tag. He had a flying elbow off the apron onto Roosh. Fisherman Buster on Jay White for a 2. Exploder suplex over the ropes by Jay White. Lethal then tagged in and delivered a superplex to Mark Briscoe. Tag to Claudio. Claudio then with the uppercuts. Roosh and Brody with a cannonball dropkick combination. We had a big swing by Claudio. Drop kick to Bryan. It was pretty much all out bedlam. Everyone was getting their shit in. We had a tag to Garcia and a tag to Jay Lethal. Lethal with the lethal combination. We had a froggy bow by Mark Briscoe when Jay Lethal locked Daniel Garcia in the figure 4. Bryan Danielson then came in with a Busaiku knee on to Roosh. Discus lariat by Claudio. Uppercut. Saito suplex by Garcia on Brody King. Everyone was down at this rate, and Garcia, in the same fashion in which he beat Brody King, Garcia rolls up Jay Lethal, and he wins the All-Star 8-man tag team match to a massive pop from the crowd. This was very fun. This was very exciting at times, and the best part about this is Daniel Garcia got the win. That right there, that's what I was looking for. If you were going to book this 8-man tag, Garcia was the one to get the win. And you know why? Because Garcia with this tournament, and especially over the course of the last several months, Garcia has morphed himself into that underdog Bryan Danielson-esque babyface. And he did it. He did it by simply doing a fucking hip dance. And that right there is something that is so it's so simple, but yet it is so effective going forward. And this tournament helped Garcia going forward, where he wanted to prove to everyone that he's not a loser. And now he just got 2 big back-to-back victories in the 8-man tag and over Brody King in the Continental Classic. That right there, that is what I was looking for. And I really do hope that Tony Khan has Daniel Garcia as a major priority for 2024, because Daniel Garcia, he is absolutely one guy that you should be building the company around for the future. The guy has got everything. The guy's got the look. The guy can cut a promo. The guy can wrestle his ass off. The guy's entertaining. He's got a simple shtick that got him over with the fucking crowd doing the dance, and the crowd legitimately wants to get behind him. The crowd wants to cheer for him, and that's exactly what they've been doing. That right there shows me and everyone that Daniel Garcia should be a major, and I mean a major priority in 2024 for AEW. He's a guy that you should be building up to be the next main eventer. Whoever it may be, whether he beats Cassidy, whether he beats Christian Cage, whether he fights for the world title at some point, regardless, Daniel Garcia is a priority for 2024. No questions asked. Let me hear what you got to say, Mac.
Yeah, the match was a good way to start the show off. It definitely was entertaining. Like you said, you had pretty much all great talent in the ring. And once again, you nailed it, man. Daniel Garcia, I was mentioning this on the stream I was on last night, the watch party stream I was on last night. Yeah, Daniel Garcia is going to be a player in 2024, man. And the fact that he got the pin, picked up the pin here, that was the perfect ending for the match. It was the perfect way to end the match. He's definitely one of the young up-and-coming superstars, big time, and he's definitely got star power, like you said. This guy, he can. I can see him having like a Randy Orton type career, when it's all said and done, man. Like down the line, this kid has it. He has it all. He has the charisma, like you said, the in-ring ability, and I was really happy to see that they allowed him to get the pin last night and really end 2023 on a strong note for him. And I think 2024 is going to be the year he just absolutely takes off to the moon, man.
Another priority
Definitely a
for
good solid match
2024
to
should
start the show.
absolutely be Mark Briscoe too, because Mark Briscoe, he's had some of the best matches in the entire tournament.
Yeah, he did. That was funny what Sarah said in the comments. Mark Briscoe dancing with Daniel Garcia at
Oh, that
the
was
end of the
great.
match. That
Yeah, that was
was
great.
funny to see.
That was awesome.
That was awesome.
I'll tell you what else was awesome. Our next match, Miro and Andrade El Idolo. And Tony Khan confirmed on the media scrum. Now listen, I don't give a shit about the media scrum. It's all the fucking same. It's the same thing with WWE, same thing with AEW. It's all happy, diddy, positive. Rarely anyone asks the hard-hitting questions. And those who do ask the hard-hitting questions, Triple H or Tony Khan always denies them. It's all the same. I don't give a shit about the media scrum. I don't know who the fuck spends 2 hours watching that fucking shit. But Tony Khan did confirm on the media scrum, and I saw this on social media, that Andrade is not renewing his contract, and he is going to be a free agent, I believe, on January 1st. This was Andrade's last match in AEW. I'd say he went out on a very high note. And it was professional, it was simple, it was to the point, and it was a great 15-minute match with Miro. They did what they needed to do. These two worked very well together. Andrade didn't phone it in, Miro didn't phone it in, and we got ourselves a great match. And this was actually one of the matches that I was most looking forward to, and this match delivered. It was fun, it was hard-hitting, it was physical, and Andrade and Tony Khan, as professional as you could be. And that's what I love about AEW. The thing that I love about AEW the most is the fact that they do not bury talent that is on their way out. They allow their talent to have their swan song match, and they go out on a high note. And they even protected him in the loss because CJ Perry screwed him over. And now CJ Perry is aligned with her husband once again. So Miro went right after Andrade. Andrade was then caught with a suplex toss. Miro remained in full control with a spinning side slam. Miro then dropped Andrade on the announce table. Andrade then shoved Miro over the table. Andrade then shoved Miro into the steps. Both men were now up top. We had a superplex by Miro. Andrade then with a stiff chop, and a second one for good measures. I would not want to be chopped by Andrade. Miro and Andrade then traded blows back and forth. Andrade then with a dragon screw in the ropes, diving crossbody, and a flying forearm. Miro was out on the floor. Andrade with a moonsault from the middle rope to the floor on Miro. Very nicely done. We then had Andrade with the double moonsault on Miro. That got a 2 count. Miro then with a clothesline for a 2. Miro then went for the game over. It was locked in. Andrade was able to get to the ropes. We had a dragon screw again, and Andrade then locked in the figure 8. Miro then reversed the pressure. Andrade then rolled over again, bridged into the figure 8. CJ Perry then out of nowhere tripped up Andrade's arms. Andrade didn't know what to make of it. Miro then with a super kick. Very nice 2 count. Game over, locked in again. Miro wrenched back, and Andrade had to tap out. And Andrade has seen his last match in AEW, and he went out on a very high note and delivered a great match, hard-hitting and physical with Miro. The match did exactly what it needed to do. Miro got the win. Andrade looked good in defeat. Andrade was protected. And if Andrade wants to go back to WWE, let him go back to WWE. He wants to be with his wife. Completely fine. However, before I hand this over to you, Mac, I just want everyone to realize something right here. Andrade is not going to be a priority in WWE within the next 9 to 12 months. I'm just letting you know that. Because if you look at the landscape of WWE as we speak, WWE and their champions are mapped out. Their champions are legitimately mapped out for the next 9 months. Roman's got Cody at WrestleMania. CM Punk has got Rollins at WrestleMania. Gunther is either fighting Brock Lesnar or Chad Gable. LA Knight and Logan Paul is the U.S. title match for WrestleMania. What is Andrade going to do? What's Andrade going to do? He's just going to be another body on the roster. He's pretty much going to slip into, God, I don't really want to say it, but he's pretty much just going to slip into the Bobby Lashley role. Bobby Lashley, he ain't doing shit. Bobby Lashley isn't doing anything right now. Bobby Lashley, he may be the leader of this new faction with the Street Profits, but ultimately Bobby Lashley is nothing more than a good wrestler who goes out there, has good matches, but he's ultimately never winning another championship ever again. He's not. If anyone from his faction is going to win a title, it's going to be the Street Profits if they decide to make the Street Profits tag team champions. But as we speak right now, Bobby Lashley and the Street Profits, they ain't going nowhere. They ain't going nowhere. You think Andrade's going anywhere? He's not. The only other thing that they could possibly do with Andrade is put him down in NXT and have him fight Dragon Lee for the NXT North American Championship, which is great. That would be great. That is a match that I would pay to see. That is a match that I would absolutely go out of my way to watch. But then again, Andrade's above NXT at this rate. Andrade's completely above NXT at this rate, and we've already seen him at his peak. No matter what they do, they're never going to top what he was doing in NXT with Zelina Vega as the NXT champion. The only other thing that I could possibly see him doing is maybe he's paired with the LWO. Maybe he's paired with Santos Escobar. But then again, does he really need to be in the LWO? Does he really need to be in a faction like that? The answer is no. The opportunities are much more endless in AEW, but clearly Tony Khan fumbled him. Tony Khan clearly did not know what to do with him because he had too much on his plate. Tony Khan was taking on too many responsibilities, and thus Andrade fell by the wayside, and it strained the relationship between Andrade and Tony Khan. But the opportunities for Andrade in AEW are much more lucrative than in WWE. But if Andrade wants to go back to WWE to be with his wife, so be it. Either way, I'm happy that they gave him a proper send-off. Miro and Andrade, they delivered a great match. I can't complain about the match, and it went off exactly how it needed to go off.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree with that. I mean, I don't really want to see Andrade back in WWE. I feel like they've already wasted him away once. What's the point of going back there for him to do it all over again? It's just going to be the same result. Like you said, the only thing I can see that makes sense is that they're just wanting to be with his wife, being there closer with his wife, being able to travel with his wife. Other than that, there's just nothing. There's no other reason for it. Like you said, no need for a faction to jump in a faction with Santos Escobar. It's just not. That's not what Andrade is a great standalone in-ring performer, man. He doesn't need to be part of some group or anything like that. That doesn't move him along. But WWE just won't use him right. It'll just be a complete waste. And like you said, great way to set him up, protected in a loss. I mean, it did. The ending absolutely made sense. I mean, he was leaving, and he's going to be leaving the company anyway. So CJ Perry, there's no point in pretending that she's still going to be with him. So you might as well put her back with her husband and move that along. And it's just, I want the best for a guy like Andrade because I've been a big fan of his ever since he was back in NXT, and he was always great. He was, I mean, been former NXT champion, move up to the main roster. It appeared early on in his first main roster run that they had some plans for him, were going to do some things with him, but that obviously quickly fell to the wayside, man. And I just don't really want to see him go back and spin his wheels in WWE. I'd rather see him, quite frankly, anywhere else than WWE because they're just not going to use him right. And I hate to see great talents like him go to waste, man. I don't want to see Andrade
Maybe
in
he
matches
goes back to
on
New
main event.
Japan for a little bit.
That would be awesome. That would be another great spot for him, man. Somewhere where he can just have opportunities to do what he does, man, and the way he does best, man. Like I said, he goes back to WWE. You'll mess around and see Andrade on matches on main event and stuff like and shows like that, which is just
Well,
that's a waste of a guy like that, man.
listen.
Total
I
waste of a
think
guy.
that he'll be showcased more on WWE TV. I guarantee he will be showcased more on WWE TV, and he will be put in great matches on a weekly basis. But in terms of him winning titles, he's not going to be winning any titles for the next year if he goes to WWE. He's not.
I mean, it doesn't appear that way. Like you said, they seem like they have things, like you said, well sorted out and how the direction they want the titles to go, things they want to do with the titles right now. So I just rather not see him in WWE. I just think they just no one wastes talent the way WWE does these days, and I just don't really want to see him spinning his wheels with that
Yeah.
company again.
Yeah. Timeless Tony Storm. She took on Riho for the AEW Women's World Championship. Anyone can say whatever they want about Riho, but if you're going to deny that she's a valuable asset to the women's division, then clearly you should not be talking about pro wrestling, and I'm going to need you to get the fuck out. I am not a Riho mark, but I'm not going to sit here and tell you that she's not valuable. It's similar to Wheeler Yuta. Wherever you place her, against whoever you place her, Riho's going to go out there and she's going to work her ass off and she's going to deliver a very good match. And that's exactly what she did here with Toni Storm. She went out there, she did the job, and she delivered a very good match with Toni Storm. And Toni Storm won. She retained the championship as she should have, because in the end, Toni Storm, she should be holding that championship at least until Jamie Hayter comes back or Mercedes Moné comes back. So Riho, she came in with a high knee and a bulldog. Luther caught Riho midair and then gifted her to Toni Storm. Toni Storm then slammed Riho on the mat. Storm remained in control. She delivered a sit-out choke bomb for a 2. So Toni Storm is getting a little bit more innovative now. Luther then aided Toni Storm in flinging Riho off the apron. So Luther had Toni Storm on his shoulders, and Luther ran alongside the ring with Toni Storm on his shoulders, and she flung Riho off of the apron, and the crowd was chanting, "That was timeless." Toni Storm then locked in a Texas Cloverleaf, and Toni Storm actually has a very nice Texas Cloverleaf. Rick Knox then saw Luther pulling the rope back, and he ejected Luther. So now it was one-on-one. Riho then mounted a comeback with a 619 diving crossbody. We had a body slam by Riho and then a diving crossbody to the floor. Back in the ring, Riho with a double stomp on the apron. Snapdragon suplex for a 2 count. We had a hip attack, but the hip attack missed. Storm rolled through into a Storm Zero. Riho kicked out. Riho, with a very close 2 count off of a roll-up, double knees connects, and Toni Storm grabbed the rope. Riho was then caught with a hip toss DDT by Toni Storm, almost a hip toss DDT into like a bit of a half cutter, so to speak. But either way, it was new, it was innovative, and thanks to the hip toss DDT-like maneuver, Storm ended up getting the victory. Toni Storm retains the women's championship. Very good match. Nothing over the top, nothing crazy, but it did its job. A very good match for both Toni Storm and Riho. And Riho did the deed. She put over Toni Storm, and Toni Storm is going into 2024 with that championship as she should, because right now Toni Storm is the best character in the women's division, and she is easily the most overact in the women's division, minus Athena. But Athena's in Ring of Honor. She's not on AEW TV. But I'm very, very happy that Toni Storm and Riho were given the proper amount of time to go out there and put on a good match. They did what they needed to do. Toni Storm got the victory as she should, and now we go into 2024 with new challengers in mind from this timeless Toni Storm. Mac, what do you got for me?
Once again, you brought up something that I mentioned last night on the watch party about Rio. Man, Rio is a people who try to put her down and talk about you got this woman works her ass off, and not only that, like I was saying last night, no matter almost any match she's in, she is so tiny in comparison to whoever she's going against. She is even against the other smaller ladies in the division. She still looks tiny even compared to them. I mean, and she goes in there and she works and works and works, and she always delivers. You know what I mean? And this was another big time match. Toni Storm was actually on one going to the match against Rio, and it's get some little redemption there for Toni Storm, and it was a good way to put Toni Storm over even more, getting a big victory, defending her title against the first ever AEW Women's Champion in Rio, man, and it was a good solid match, definitely for sure. But like you said, people who put down Rio as disrespectful because this young lady is already dealt one big obstacle just with her size alone and the way she works in the ring. It's impressive to see, man. I rather enjoy watching Rio perform in the ring. And like you said, Toni Storm right now, her with her gimmick and everything, it's through the moon right now. It's over the top, and I can see her going on a nice lengthy run here in 2024. It's going to be another big year for Toni Storm, I feel.
I definitely feel that too. So, how would you go about the women's title picture going into next year? Now, me personally, I would have Jamie Hayter. I would have Jamie Hayter come back. And maybe we can wrap up the Jamie Hayter Toni Storm storyline. Or if Mercedes Moné ends up coming on in, then Mercedes Moné and Toni Storm, that right there, that is your women's title match for Double or Nothing. And then I'm building up Jamie Hayter versus Mercedes Moné at All In. If Mercedes Moné doesn't come in, I'm going with Jamie Hayter and Toni Storm. Jamie Hayter wins the championship, and we build towards Jamie Hayter versus Britt Baker at All In. That's how I'm doing it. That's how I would do it.
Well, I mean, like I said, right now, with Mercedes, since she's kind of the unknown, we have no idea whether she'll be a part of AEW or not. It's kind of hard for me to really squeeze her into the equation right now, the way things stand. I really would like to see Statlander really kind of get a little bit more of a push forward in the women's division going in 2024. I want to see her get more in the mix for the women's title, start getting opportunities opening up for someone like her. Also, with Serena Deeb's coming back, that's a game changer. We know she'll develop the talent in the division big time and keep uplifting everybody else in the division. And then there's still also Thunder Rosa, man, who's been on the shelf for a while. People may have kind of forgotten about her, but Thunder Rosa is great. And Thunder Rosa is absolutely one of the best females in the business, man. And I'm not. It's a lot of different ways they can go, but they're giving themselves a lot of options. And like you said, Jamie Hayter, that story does need to be tied up with her and Toni Storm, with her apparently coming back soon. I've been hearing, like to really see them really dive in to get that, really put a bow on that one way or another. And I'm excited. The AEW is definitely going in the right direction. A lot of good things down the road. And the women's division has come up big time. The women's division was questionable a bit in AEW, but they're really coming up. But even with some of the other young ladies, I love the work even Sky Blue is doing right now lately with the heel turn and such. Like, she's another up and coming development. She's not ready for the big time yet by no means, but she's up and coming talent. She's definitely a big up and coming talent also in that division. And I like what the work she's doing. Little things like that. Julia Hart, it's starting to grow on me a little bit. I was kind of unsure about her taking the title off of Statlander, but at the end of the day, she's starting to grow on me a little bit too with her. Just some of the lesser talent, some of the smaller, lesser known talent in the women's division, they're on the rise, and then some of the bigger names we already know. starting to get really exciting for women's wrestling in AEW, man.
Yeah,
Exciting time.
the one
2024
thing
should
that they
be
need to
a great
do,
year for them.
the one thing that they need to do is they need a better sense of structure. They definitely need a better sense of structure, and they need a better sense of direction going forward. That if they were able to get that down, then I do believe that we're going to be headed in a very good direction going into 2024 for the women's division.
I could agree.
So
I could agree with that.
yeah. So from there, we go into a match that wasn't supposed to happen, but Keith Lee is out injured. The doctors did not clear him. Swerve Strickland instead took on Keith Lee's partner Dustin Rhodes. Now, I don't want to shit on this match. I don't want to shit on this match because Dustin Rhodes and Swerve, they worked very well together here. But the thing that kind of took me for a loop is the fact that Swerve immediately attacked Dustin. He slammed him into the barricade, drop kicked him against the steps. Nana then brought out a cinder block, and he did the Swerve stomp on Dustin's ankle onto the cinder block. And from that moment on, Dustin Rhodes, he wanted to compete. And he did. But if Dustin was going to go out there and compete, then wouldn't it have made sense if Swerve would have beaten him in 60 seconds? That right there would have actually been more effective. Now, not to say the match was bad, because the crowd actually made this match a lot better than it was. Dustin can still go, even at his age. And Swerve is over as fuck right now. Swerve right now is the hottest act in the entire industry. And Swerve, he was having the crowd in the palm of his hands, even though he's a dastardly heel. They were going, whose house? Swerve's house. And he was just sitting there. He was just sitting there on top of the apron. So, Dustin, he tried to mount the comeback with a crossbody for a 2. Dustin, out of nowhere, with a Canadian Destroyer and a power slam. Swerve was then hit with Shattered Dreams. Prince Nana was punched out. Dustin then with a pile driver and a crossroads. Swerve was able to kick out. Swerve then with a rolling flatliner and a single leg crab, but he transitioned into a stretch muffler. Dustin got to the ropes. This was the best part about the entire match. So Dustin flipped off Swerve Strickland, spit in his face, and said, "Fuck you." Swerve laughed. He smiled, delivered 2 house calls to Dustin, snapped the arm back, which, by the way, that looks immensely more painful than the fingers being snapped back that Butch does. But after that, we had Swerve going up to the top. He hit the Swerve stomp right on the money, and that was it. 1, 2, 3, Swerve wins. If you were going to give us an actual match, why did we need the cinder block spot? I understand what you were doing there, but if we were going to have that cinder block spot where Dustin's ankle was virtually shattered into pieces off of the cinder block spot, wouldn't it have made more sense just to have Swerve beat him in 60 seconds? That right there would have made more sense than whatever the hell we got with this full-blown match. If this match was going to be the backup plan, it came off like a backup plan, fine, but if you were going to give us an actual match, why do we need the injury angle? Wouldn't it have been better if Swerve was going to look like a savage? Wouldn't it have been better to just beat Dustin Rhodes in 60 seconds? I understand you didn't want to leave Swerve off the card, but you could have gone about this a lot better. Now, again, no disrespect to either of them. Crowd was very, very hot for this match, even though it was pretty much a backup match. But this is where the show started to dip a little bit. This is where it started to get a little wonky. This match and then the next match. But what were your thoughts on this match before we go into our next contest?
Yeah, after with the attack in the beginning, I thought it was just getting ready to throw the match out. Obviously, that's what it appeared was getting ready to happen. Dustin Rhodes, like you said, he wants to compete, he wants to fight. But like you said, it just didn't make sense because at that point, you're coming in there practically on one leg. Swerve is where he's at right now. I mean, over as he is, you would have just thought it would have just looked even more just to just build his character even that much more if it would have just been a quick ending as opposed to like on the sidelines podcast says in the chat, match just went way longer than it needed to. All things considered, the way things got started, like you said, if you wanted to have a match, a straight up match and let Swerve look like a superhero and just have a great match against Dustin Rhodes, then you didn't need all the things in the beginning. It was unnecessary. At the same time, once again, Swerve putting in another just great performance, and this dude is about as over as anybody in AEW right about now. Like you said, to be the type of heel that he is, and still have the whole entire crowd chanting, singing along his music, chanting. So Swerve, man, he's doing great work, man, and like you said, it was overall still a pretty solid match, all things considered. But I mean, this was another great performance by Swerve, man. Another great showing for him in there with another wily vet in Dustin Rhodes, another guy that's been around for several years, man, and knows how to help get talent over, and that's pretty much what he's doing at this point in his career. And it's another good thing to see, man. Like you said, they couldn't leave Swerve off the card completely, but they could have went about this a little bit differently. Like I said, the attack in the beginning, it almost didn't make sense with them going on, and then following that up with still pretty much, I mean, however long this match went, I can't remember quite how long it was, but it went a good little bit of time, considering Dustin Rhodes was on one leg basically the entire match. So it was but it was still a solid performance.
Yeah, I don't really know what they were going for there. I don't know where Swerve goes either. I mean, the upper mid card to main event scene, the upper echelon of AEW talent right now, it's an overabundance because you got Joe now as the new world champion. We'll talk about that in a minute. You got Swerve, you got Hangman, you got Jay White, you got God knows how many other people in there. So for a fact that things are going to heat up, and there's no shortage of opponents now that MJF is out with a injury. Well, he was injured before, but now he needs to take time off. We'll talk about that as well. But Swerve, he's really making a strong case as to why he should be world champion. And if I was them, I'd absolutely make Swerve the world champion in 2024. We'll talk about that in a little bit. We had 8-man tag, Konosuke Takeshita, Powerhouse Hobbs, Ricky Starks, and Big Bill versus Sammy Guevara, Chris Jericho, Sting, and Darby Allin. Chris Jericho seemed to have been the talk of the town yesterday throughout the entire day leading up into World's End, and I kind of stayed away from it. Up until today. So I may as well talk about that now. I'm going to try and not go too much into it, but from what I've gathered and from the information that I've seen, it seems as though Nick Hausman kind of threw it out there that Chris Jericho sexually assaulted Kylie Ray back when Kylie Ray was in AEW for the short period of time that she was in. And there was a lot of people that were jumping to conclusions and all this other shit. I am not going to be a guy that jumps to conclusions, and I'm not looking to kind of attack anyone. I like to take in all the information. I like to watch. I like to observe. I like to wait until all the information reveals itself, because then that makes the people that talk about this come off a lot more reasonable and mature than just going out there and jumping to conclusion just based off of one thing that an asshole podcaster said. Something, I don't know what it is, something is clearly off about this entire thing. Something doesn't add up. And I'm going to throw this out there. This believe all victims mentality, I'm sorry, that shit needs to take a back seat. Because after what happened with Enzo Amore, and we already know what happened there, how Enzo Amore had an entire scenario where someone lied about him and he got his name cleared, especially after what happened with Darby Allin. He presented information to Tony Khan and he got his name cleared. I mean, I don't understand why anyone would go forth with this toxic and ignorant believe all victims mentality. Especially when we live in an era where humanity has lied so much more than any other era in human history. So, first of all, if this happened 4.5 years ago, why exactly was this information withheld? And don't give me the excuse of NDAs. There was no information that came out stating that NDAs were signed. And if an NDA was signed, it sure as hell was not signed immediately after this alleged harassment took place. Why exactly is this being revealed 12 hours before AEW Worlds End after it should have been addressed 4.5 years ago? Secondly, why is Nick Hausman withholding this information? Very, very odd that this came out directly after Chris Jericho called out Nick Hausman for being a fucking CM Punk dick rider. And then on top of that, it's quite coincidental that Nick Hausman and Kylie Ray are both from the same area as two particular individuals that instigated Brawl Out 2022. Meanwhile, Twitter's not the place where this should be taking place. This should be handled in a courtroom. And then secondly, this is some new information that I just found out. Presumably, Chris Jericho is in an open relationship with his wife. Now, if he asked Kylie Ray and she rejected him, and then they both went their separate ways, then Chris Jericho did nothing wrong. If she said no, Chris Jericho went away, then that's it. Nothing else should be said. Nothing else should be done. And Chris Jericho, he's completely scot-free. There was nothing that was done wrong. Now, if he did something else following Kylie Ray's rejection, then we have a problem. Then Chris Jericho has not gotten a leg to stand on. Tony Khan should have to step in, fine, suspension, termination, whatever he chooses. It's just very, very sad, disappointing, and again, rather coincidental that something like this always comes up before a major moment or event for AEW. An investigation should be, and most likely will be conducted, but as of this moment, I'm not going to speak on it anymore. We're going to have to wait and see what new information comes out, but I'm just going to throw it out there. I don't believe it. I need more information if I'm going to believe that this alleged harassment took place. But lo and behold, we have all these fucking people as these mindless zombies operating with guilty until proven innocent. It is what it is, and I think that the majority of the wrestling community is a bunch of fucking retards. But that's just me, of course. Mac, what you got for me? Or do you even want to comment on this?
I mean, just real quick, to me, I'm always a little suspect about things like this. Like, all this time has passed, like you said, now it wants to be gets brought to light. Let just, I mean, at this point, if anything is true about this, let the judicial system do its job. And like, at this point in time, man, until anything is truly proven, I would just stay away from it, man. Like, it's just ridiculous at this point, man. It's just way too, like you said, all that time, and then all of a sudden, right before the big pay-per-view, right after you just had a little bit of a beef with Chris Jericho, now all of a sudden you're releasing stories like this, and like I said, it's just way too sketchy at this point. And it's just like I said, I'd rather let the legal system do his part. If it's anything, any substance to this, we'll let them figure it, let them sort it out, because that's what they get paid to do. It did not stop Jericho from going out there and doing what he does best, which is perform in the ring. And I'm glad it didn't really truly affect the match.
Now, I will say this. Tony Khan has definitely got some balls for sending Jericho out there. And I have to give him some props for that. But one thing that I'm going to say is Nick Hausman, if what he's saying is true or what he's implying is true and something else happened, then Chris Jericho's in some deep shit. But if Nick Hausman does not have a good case, I definitely believe that Nick Hausman is going to lose a lot. I definitely believe that he's going to get the shit suit out of him. It's not going to be pretty for him.
Yeah.
So we get this match. Clearly this match felt off. It wasn't terrible, but obviously similar to Dustin Rhodes and Swerve Strickland, it came off like a backup plan. Because the original plan was Big Bill and Ricky Starks versus Chris Jericho and Kenny Omega, but unfortunately Kenny Omega's out with diverticulitis. So, few boos for Jericho in the beginning. The crowd was chanting, "Fuck you, Callus." Ricky Starks did not lock up with Chris Jericho. He actually flipped them off and tagged in Powerhouse Hobbs. We had a tag to Darby and Big Bill. Takeshita came in. He delivered an Avalanche Blue Thunder Bomb to Darby. So we did get some decent spots in here. The crowd was chanting, "We want Sting." And if anything, I feel as though the only reason why Tony Khan let this match happen was because he was going to give Sting his moment. He wanted to give Sting his last moment in front of the New York crowd, which I understand. So after that, crowd was actually chanting NDA at Chris Jericho, "Stay classy, New York." Starks, then with an old school, in tribute to The Undertaker. Sammy Guevara then tagged in. He delivered a nice middle rope cutter on Ricky Starks. Big Bill came in, delivered a boss man slam. We had a code breaker by Jericho, but Big Bill shoved it off. Big Bill clearly botched that, and it wasn't very clean or crisp. Will Hobbs came in with a spine buster. Darby then with a coffin splash, sending Jericho into Hobbs. Crowd was very, very quiet. I don't know what happened, but after the Swerve match, the crowd really started to dip. I'm not sure what's going on. It's like it's a sellout crowd, at least 10,000 people in there, and they're fucking dead. Fucking silent as shit. Like, what the fuck's going on? I mean, come on. This is supposed to be the final pay-per-view of the year, and you cannot find it in you to make some fucking noise. I'm telling you, it's unreal. It's like I watch Dynamite or I watch a Rampage and there's 3,000 people in there, and those 3,000 people are making more noise than the 10,000 people were here. Same thing with WWE events. WWE events are the same thing. I watch a Dynamite, and the 4,000 people in that half-empty fucking arena, they're making more noise than the 13,000 people on a Monday Night Raw. It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. But moving on here, we had Don Callis getting involved again. Crowd chanted, "Fuck you, Callis." Sammy Guevara caught a nasty spear by Ricky Starks. Starks was then caught with a super kick, GTH, and then Sammy Guevara with a shooting star press, and Sammy Guevara wins the match. Sammy was probably the best guy to win it, considering that Sammy Guevara just came back, and it seems as though Les Sex Gods, they're going to be in a position where they could win the tag team titles, although I don't think they should win the tag team titles. Listen, I understand you want to push Sammy and all that, but I do not believe that Les Sex Gods winning the tag team titles would be a good idea as of right now. If you want to clear Chris Jericho's name first, then yeah, I would do that, but we'll see what happens. But kind of an off match. I'm not going to say it was completely horrible. We did get a couple decent spots here, but probably the weakest match, or the second weakest match on the show. The weakest match on the show took place after this, but very, very bland 8-man tag. And realistically speaking, I wouldn't have booked the 8-man tag for World's End as a whole. I wouldn't have booked the 8-man tag in general. If anything, what I would have done is, if you wanted to, I would have just done Ricky Starks and Big Bill versus Chris Jericho and Kota Ibushi, and have Omega bestow Kota Ibushi on Chris Jericho as a blessing, and then I would have Ricky Starks and Big Bill retain and let that be the end of it. That's what I would have done. But this 8-man tag, very bland, boring, didn't really do anything overall. Would you like to comment on this, or do you just want to move on to the next match?
Just real briefly. Look, I agree. I would have rather just seen the tag team match, Starks and Big Bill defend against Guevara and Jericho. But at the end of the day, I also get you really trying to find a way maybe to even get Sting on the card here, and so incorporate him in some kind of way. Let him have a send-off up here in New York City for this crowd. I mean, Sting's career speaks for itself. And at the end of the match, that clearly spoke for itself. To send off the New York crowd gave Sting was obviously spoke for itself. So, I mean, just from that standpoint, I guess I get it. But the match definitely was nothing special. And I would have rather preferably as a fan, would have rather just seen the tag team match. And agree with what you said. I wouldn't have wanted to see Jericho and Guevara win the titles. but that would have been a good way to maybe spark a nice little ongoing feud going into 2024. But yeah, that's about all I got for this one because it really wasn't anything too great otherwise.
Yeah, I definitely believe going forward that we should absolutely scale back on the 8-man tags. Not everyone needs to be on the show. And if you're going to put the big stars on the show, put them on the show in more prominent roles. Put them on the show in roles where we actually want to see them in, kind of like Sting and Darby. Like if you wanted to do Sting and Darby on the show, then you could have waited and maybe you could have done Sting and Darby versus the Don Callis family or something like that. But again, the whole 8-man tag, this was probably the most unnecessary match on the show. Julia Hart, she took on Abaddon for the TBS championship. This was easily the worst match on the show. Abaddon is just not it. Abaddon is just not it. Listen, she's gotten better in the ring. But this was a Rampage match. This was a Rampage match put on a pay-per-view, and it honestly brought Julia Hart's title reign down. If anything, why couldn't we have gotten Julia Hart versus a Willow Nightingale? Why didn't we get Julia Hart versus a Willow Nightingale? Why didn't we get a Julia Hart versus anybody else? Give me another Julia Hart and Chris Statlander match. I mean, they had a very good match back at Wrestle Dream. Why didn't we get another match between those two? That would have been very good. That would have probably been better than what Willow and Chris Statlander did in general. Why not build up someone new? Why not give me Shida? Why not give me Hikaru Shida versus Julia Hart? Because Shida, whoever that she is in the ring with, she makes people better by being in the ring with them. She's made a lot of people better by being in the ring with them, including Saraya. Saraya had her best match in AEW a couple months back against Shida. So why not put Shida in there with Julia Hart and give her some worthy competition? Because Abaddon, she is not it. Abaddon is not a women's wrestler that people are going to invest their time in. The character's too much. The spooky shit, the zombie shit, it's fucking lame. That shit is over. No more of that. No more. That does not work in this era. Nowadays, it's all about realism. You take a look at the House of Black. I don't see the House of Black saying that they're Satanists. I don't see the House of Black saying that they're demons from hell. I don't see the House of Black performing magic. I don't see the House of Black acting like they're fucking vampires or werewolves or any of that shit. House of Black, they win their matches and their characters are dark cult leaders and they win their matches based off of skill alone. Why is it that the House of Black and FTR is taking place on Collision this Saturday, but it wasn't at World's End? Now that shit right there, that pissed me off. If anything, you should have taken Swerve and Dustin off of the show. You should have put FTR and the House of Black on the show because they're gonna kill it at Collision. And I'm gonna be sitting there asking, well, why the fuck wasn't this on World's End? Why the fuck wasn't this on World's End? Abaddon and Julia Hart, they had their match. Abaddon was she tried. I'm not going to say she wasn't trying. She tried. But ultimately, Julia Hart wins. And it was easily Julia Hart's worst match in AEW all year. Julia Hart botched the moonsault a little bit. Julia Hart landed on her feet rather than landing with her stomach on Abaddon's stomach. And that didn't come off well whatsoever. Julia Hart retains. I definitely believe that we need to start getting Julia Hart in there with... We need to get Julia Hart in there with some real women's wrestlers. I'm going to throw it out there. I don't advocate for the firing of anyone, but what value does Abaddon have? Really, what fucking value does she have? She brings nothing to the division. She brings nothing. She is an indie wrestler through and through. She is an indie wrestler, and with that character, I'm sorry. I appreciate being different, but with that character... an indie wrestler is all she will ever be. Julia Hart retains, thank Christ. Let's get her in the ring with Shida. Let's get her in the ring with Riho. Let's get her in the ring with Thunder Rosa and call it a day. Mac?
Yeah, this match was easily the most forgettable match of the night. And I kind of have already forgotten it, but it's
I'm sorry for bringing it up.
this is the only thing I say about. Only thing I say about this match is I love the Julia Hart Sky, like I said, Sky Blue little alliance they
Oh
formed
yeah,
with
yeah,
each other.
that's great.
I just want to
That's
see I would like to see Julia Hart, keep growing and like you said, in a match like this, did you really need Sky Blue to come out there and give you even the little assist that she gave? I mean, not
I know,
really. It
like
wasn't
you can't
necessarily
beat
necessary
Abaddon on your own. You can't beat a
in this
worthless
match. So
scrub like
yeah,
Abaddon on your own. Oh my god.
could have could have done without that spot. And but otherwise, this match was, like you said, definitely a Rampage match put on a pay per view.
Clear as day.
That was the
Clear
best.
as
That
day.
was exactly a great analogy.
Clear as day. So at this rate, the last three matches that we've seen up to this point, I was like, and this pay-per-view after the women's title match really took a turn. After Toni Storm and Riho, I'm like, what the fuck happened? The crowd is dead. I mean, the wrestling is all clunky and subpar. And I said to myself, the last three matches need to deliver. The last three matches in terms of bell-to-bell action, they need to deliver. And thankfully they did. Thankfully the wrestling and the devil reveal as well. The devil reveal delivered too. So we had Adam Copeland and Christian Cage. No DQ match for the TNT Championship. Adam Copeland, he came out wearing his WrestleMania 2006, I believe. His WrestleMania 22 gear. I thought that was great. That was a very nice throwback right there. So the fight spilled to the outside immediately. Nigel McGuinness was trying to hype up Christian Cage, and Copeland said, "Shut up, Nigel." So Nick Wayne and Shane, this was the second thing that I did. I didn't like two things. I didn't like the ending, and I didn't like this little tidbit of information. Shayna Wayne and Nick Wayne, it's a no DQ match, and Shayna Wayne and Nick Wayne, for about 70% of the match, were just standing out there like fucking idiots. It's no DQ. You can do whatever you want. You can get involved, and you are not going to be disqualified. Listen, back in October, I remember Eddie Kingston, he fought Jeff Jarrett in a no DQ match, and I thought that match was fucking ridiculous. I thought that they did not need to do that match just to get Jay Lethal a title shot. But they had Jeff Jarrett's posse attacking Eddie Kingston throughout the entire fucking match. And I couldn't shit on that because it made sense. Why wasn't Nick Wayne and Shayna Wayne attacking Adam Copeland throughout the entire match here? I don't get it. I honest to God don't get it. But we had the fight spilling into the barricade and over into the stands. Copeland dove out of the stands onto Nick Wayne and Christian Cage. Back at ringside, Copeland with a flying clothesline off of the barricade. Crowd was chanting, "You still got it." Cage then stomped Copeland's neck onto the steps. Cage brought out some kendo sticks, then whipped Copeland with the kendo sticks. He then called Copeland a piece of shit. Copeland was then bleeding from around his left eye. Nick Wayne gave Cage 2 chairs. He got a Boston Crab with the chair. Copeland was able to get out of it. Copeland then whipped Cage with the kendo stick, locked in a crossface with the chair piece. Cage was able to get out of it. Copeland then set up a ladder. He slingshotted Cage headfirst into the ladder, and then he went up top. Did Christian Cage. Christian Cage then went up top. Copeland was there with him. Christian Cage was able to deliver a sunset flip powerbomb off of the ladder to Copeland. That got a 2 count. Crowd was chanting, "We want fire." The table outside was then set on fire after Christian Cage was hit with an impaler DDT with the chair. So the table was set on fire, and Shayna Wayne, she pulled the referee out. Copeland then eyed Shayna Wayne before Nick Wayne came in and blasted Copeland with the TNT title. Copeland was then hit with a kill switch, and Copeland kicked out. So the table that was previously lit on fire, the lighter fluid faded out. The lighter fluid faded out, and Adam Copeland needed to relight the table. So he relit the table. He relit the table. He then powerbombed Nick Wayne onto the table, and it didn't break. I actually thought that it looked more brutal because Nick Wayne, he had fire going onto his back. The table didn't break, and he was flip-flopping around like a fish on the stage area. So Nick Wayne, he was selling the shit out of that. He sold the shit out of that. Back in the ring, Adam Copeland with a low blow to Christian, kill switch, and Adam Copeland pins Christian 1, 2, 3. Out of nowhere, Luchasaurus, a.k.a. Kill Switch, he then came out. He came out from behind. This is where shit did not sit well with me. So, first of all, the match was excellent. The match was excellent. This was easily the best match on the entire show. And that just goes to show you how good Christian Cage and Adam Copeland are. And Adam Copeland, I've been loving his run in AEW thus far. Adam Copeland's run in AEW has been fun as shit. It's been very, very entertaining. You take a look at the matches that he's been delivering, extremely, extremely fun. We had 2 very good matches with Christian. This obviously was the better. This match blew the Montreal match out of the water. But after this, Kill Switch came up from behind. He then attacked Adam Copeland and chokeslammed him onto a chair. He then took the contract, and he said that, again, it was for anytime, anywhere. Christian Cage then stopped Kill Switch. He then whispered something in Luchasaurus Kill Switch's ear, and Kill Switch inevitably gave the title to Christian. He signed the contract, delivered the spear, and won the TNT title back. Now, one thing I will say, I will admit that I like the fact that Christian lost because of his own move, the Kill Switch, and then Copeland, he lost because of his own move, the spear. That I actually liked. I like that little minor detail right there. But I mean, holy shit, why was this needed? Why exactly was this needed? Don't you think that if Christian was ultimately going to walk out of Worlds End with the TNT Championship, don't you think it would have been a better decision to have Christian retain, and then at a later date, you could have actually made a better story out of Luchasaurus and Christian Cage, with Luchasaurus now being the holder of the contract that gives him a title shot anytime, anywhere? Listen, I understand what they were doing. The end goal here is exactly what Adam Copeland predicted. Adam Copeland said that at some point, Luchasaurus and Nick Wayne, they are going to leave you. They are going to ditch you. And that's exactly what's going to happen. The story is there. Luchasaurus has had enough of Christian Cage. He is going to leave Christian Cage. It's the same exact thing that they did with Wardlow and MJF. Or the same exact thing that they did with Sami Zayn and the Bloodline. Luchasaurus is going to get tired of Christian Cage's bullshit. This was another step. This was another chapter. But don't you think it would have been better if Christian were to retain? He would have kept the ball rolling with his TNT title reign rather than Adam Copeland winning the title and then losing it back to Christian 4 minutes later? Why exactly are we in this scenario where we're booking hot shot title changes back and forth? That shit does nothing. That shit does nothing for the title. That shit does nothing for the person holding the title. We need long, lengthy title reigns. Why do you think MJF's title reign felt so important? One of the main reasons was because of the length. Why do you think we had Chris Statlander and her title reign? Why do you think her title reign felt important? Because of the length. She held it for nearly 200 days. Length of title reigns is extremely important. There should be no title reign that lasts under 100 days. 100 to 150 days minimum each title reign. That is how you keep the title prestigious, and that is how you keep the person holding the title prestigious. Because whatever the fuck we got here, this was some Vince Russo-esque booking. And lo and behold, we do not need any more Vince Russo-esque booking in modern day pro wrestling. We do not need Vince Russo involved in pro wrestling, period. If Christian was going to end up walking out of Long Island with the title, then Christian should have retained. And you could have built the story around Christian Cage telling Luchasaurus to relinquish the contract. And ultimately, Luchasaurus says, fuck no. And Luchasaurus could cash in on Christian and become the TNT champion. And Luchasaurus will be made into a major babyface, while Christian and Copeland, they go into their feud without the TNT title. Because whether anyone wants to admit it or not, their feud does not need the TNT title. Is it making the TNT title feel more important? Yes. But does the feud itself need the title? No. The feud itself does not need the championship, nor should it have the championship. We need to get the title off of Christian Cage and put it onto a babyface that has a lot of momentum right now, like a Swerve Strickland. Or if you want to, you could put it on a heel too. You could put it on Takeshita if you wanted to. You could put it on anyone else, any other babyface that's hot right now. But Copeland and Cage, their program does not need a title. The program is ultimately about their friendship. That their program has enough story to a point where it doesn't need anything else. I don't understand why Adam Copeland won it just to lose it back. They could have gone about this a lot differently. Matter of fact, this pissed me off more so than the ending to the World Championship match. This pissed me off the most. Christian should have retained, and Luchasaurus should have kept the contract, and you should have built a story around that. Mac, what say you?
Great match. It was a great match, like you said, and it's unfortunate that they just stained a great match with this terrible, terrible ending. I mean, look, if you wanted to keep the title on Christian ultimately, then just keep the damn title on him. There was no need for all of this. Like you said, there's so many better directions you could have went with Killswitch winning that battle royal and having that contract. So many different avenues. Because, like you said, it's definitely clear the writing's on the wall. It's that there's going to be a separation between him and Christian Cage soon. Don't know exactly when, but now I guess we're going to make this storyline out about whatever he whispered in the Killswitch's ear, whatever that was, because he was clearly reluctant to want to hand over that contract. He didn't like just flat out hand it over to him. But then all of a sudden you see that moment where Christian just leans over and whispers something in his ear, and the next thing you know, like a little lost puppy dog, Killswitch just like, here you go, take the contract, take the title, forget that I won the battle royal, forget that this was my opportunity. I don't understand it at all. There was no reason for the initial title change. Like you said, they could have done one about this so much better. Took away from what was a great match. Definitely these two. Obviously, the professionals that they are, the experience that they bring to the table, clearly you knew this was going to be a banger of a match, and it definitely was. But they just really completely ruined it with that ending. It just made, to me, no sense at all, like, to do it in that fashion, to pretty much make that battle royal earlier in the show about nothing. It ended up pretty much being, the battle royal ended up meaning nothing now,
yes,
because now you just taken and wasted the opportunity that Killswitch earned from winning that battle royal. You just wasted it away by them just pretty much handing it over to Christian, and Christian still walking out of there with the title anyway after losing the title. So it was a terrible way for that match to end. But overall, it was a really, really great match, and this definitely one of the few matches on the card that I would definitely look forward to going back and rewatching and checking out again. But this time I know to just skip the ending because I don't need to see that again. But the match itself was absolutely great.
They had the opportunity to build another great layer to this storyline, because it's not just Adam Copeland and Christian Cage. You got Nick Wayne in there, and Nick Wayne, he's learning from Christian. And then you got Luchasaurus in there, who could have been and might still be a big part of this program, the Wardlow to Christian Cage's MJF, and yet they do this. I mean, come on. It's right in front of your face. Christian retains, and Luchasaurus keeps the contract. I'm telling you. That right there, I'm not sure what Tony Khan was thinking right there, but again, I get what they were doing, but there were numerous other routes that you could have gone that would have came off immensely better than what we got last night in the end. And it's quite disappointing that the best match of the night has that little stain on it for being a match that ultimately turned out to be a banger match, with a shit ending.
Yeah, absolutely, man. This takes away from greatness.
I'll tell you what didn't take away from greatness. Eddie Kingston and Jon Moxley. Eddie Kingston, Jon Moxley, AEW Continental Classic Finals. And I'm telling you, man, Eddie Kingston is making Cody Rhodes ball up in a corner as Cody Rhodes eats his 6th pint of ice cream because Eddie Kingston's out here finishing story after story. And Cody Rhodes, in the time that he lost to Roman Reigns versus now, Eddie Kingston legitimately, he had the culmination of his entire fucking career. And Cody Rhodes is left in the fucking dust. At least I hope until April, at least, because we need to get that fucking title off of Roman Reigns. But Eddie Kingston, man, what a year for Eddie Kingston, man. What a year for Eddie Kingston. Eddie Kingston and the passion that Eddie Kingston has for the business and everything that Eddie Kingston pours into what he's doing, going out there, and he won a championship in Japan. He finished that story, and then he finally beat Claudio Castagnoli in a major program, and he won the Ring of Honor World Championship, finished his 2nd story, and then he became a modern American Triple Crown champion, just like his heroes in Japan. He finished 3 stories within 6 months. Unbelievable. What a moment for Eddie Kingston. If there was one guy that I would have been okay with to win the whole thing, minus Swerve, Eddie Kingston was absolutely that guy. Eddie Kingston winning this match, excellent. Excellent. And I do not have a single complaint about this match. This match was probably the best overall match on the show besides the opener. So Eddie Kingston, I don't know what the fuck happened here, but Eddie Kingston, he hit his head on the barricade coming off of a suicide dive. It did not look good at all. He's actually lucky that he wasn't paralyzed. We had a paradigm shift on the floor. Eddie Kingston then tried to mount the comeback. We had a big chop by Eddie. It brought Mox to his knees, actually. Chop after chop, back body drop, spinning back fist connects, machine gun chops in the corner, DDT by Eddie, cutter by Moxley, big lariat, Northern Lights bomb, a great sequence. Moxley was able to kick out. Bulldog choke by Kingston. Moxley was able to get out of it. Bulldog choke by Moxley. Eddie tried to fire himself up. Eddie hit the ropes. Spinning back fist. Again, Moxley kicked out. Northern Lights bomb again. Moxley kicked out. Both men, they went back and forth, trading blow for blow for blow. And then out of nowhere, Eddie Kingston with one final spinning back fist. He pins Moxley. And he becomes one of the very few people to beat Jon Moxley clean in the middle of the ring. And Jon Moxley ends up losing as Eddie Kingston finishes his, how many stories? 3 stories? 4 stories? Either way, I'm happy for him. Very good match. An amazing moment in his home state. Eddie Kingston accomplished. Eddie Kingston is the first ever AEW Continental Crown champion, and he holds 3 separate championships all at once. Eddie King, you want to talk about new stars, man? You want to talk about new stars? Eddie Kingston, he was made into a new star. And here's something that I think we need to acknowledge Jon Moxley for. You can say that Jon Moxley is getting to John Cena territories and all this other shit, but when it comes down to it, Jon Moxley knows how to put talent over. You take a look at the people that he has put over in the last year, and you take a look at where they are and what they've accomplished, you know for a fact that Jon Moxley, he's in the business of helping out new stars. He put over MJF. He put over Hangman Adam Page. He put over Orange Cassidy. He put over Eddie Kingston. Moxley knows what he's doing when it comes to new stars. Jon Moxley and what he's doing, and the fact that he took 2 major losses at back-to-back pay-per-views against Cassidy and Eddie Kingston, he knows that his value is going to be helping out others as the show and the company progresses into the future. And that's exactly what he did for Eddie Kingston. Excellent moment for Kingston. Very good match. Eddie Kingston achieves his dream and finishes yet another story as Cody Rhodes continues to wallow in his own self-pity. Mac, what you got?
Man, look, Eddie Kingston, man, it couldn't happen to a better guy. Look, Eddie Kingston, I know it can come off slightly controversial at times, but at the end of the day, he eats, sleeps, and breathes this business, man. And nobody deserves this more right now. The push that he's getting and the things that he's being able to accomplish within this past year. This has been just a meteor year for Eddie Kingston, man. It's been really great to watch as a wrestling fan and seeing the things he's been able to accomplish, man. I love it. It almost brought a tear to my eye last night watching him win this match. He got off to a slow start in the Continental Classic, and then the fact that he was able to fight his way back into that tournament. And I mean, the big win on Wednesday night against Brian Danielson. I mean, that right there in itself is saying a lot. I mean, going there against Brian Danielson on Dynamite and getting a clean W the way he did in that match to get himself into the finals of this against Moxley, and then this to go out there and put on a show. I agree with you. I did like the Edge and the Edge and Christian match a little better as far as my favorite match on the card, but this match was right there behind it, in my opinion. This match was absolutely awesome. It delivered on everything you could possibly believe, and they got it right with the winner. I think what you said was spot on. Moxie just once again putting another superstar over and putting them over the top. Eddie Kingston, man, sky is the limit. This guy is finally getting what he deserves. He's been putting that work in for some time now, and it's just great to see, man. I love seeing a guy like him get what he deserves, man, and he deserves every bit of this because like you said, he just loves this industry, man. He loves the business, and you can clearly see it with the way he conducts himself in and out of the ring, man. This is serious. This is real life for him, and he's all about it. And I just love to see a guy like him getting what he deserves, man. It was a perfect ending to the year for Eddie Kingston, man. Perfect ending to the year, man. And I can't wait to see what's going to happen for him in 2024. I can't wait.
He's definitely going to be a man to beat. And I'm definitely looking forward to seeing what he does going into 2024 because more likely than not, anything that Eddie Kingston does is it's something to keep our eyes on. It's ultimately going to be must see because that's what Eddie Kingston does. Eddie Kingston goes out of his way and he makes everything that he does feel important no matter what it may be. So aside from the House of Black versus FTR on Collision, on the first Dynamite of the new year, we got ourselves Dante Martin and Orange Cassidy for the AEW International Championship. Should be fun. I'm looking forward to seeing what Dante Martin does there. And then in the main event, MJF and Samoa Joe, AEW World Championship. Now, everything that took place from the beginning to the end, the only thing that I would have changed was the ending of the world title match. The ending of the show was fine. It could have been done a little better, I would say. It could have been done a little bit more climactic, but out of the overall main event match and segment, the only thing I would have changed was the ending to the world title match itself, because the ending to the world title match, it felt lackluster. It honest to God felt lackluster. I didn't mind that Joe won. I didn't mind that Joe won at all because Samoa Joe is fantastic. It's about how he won. If MJF was going to take time off due to injuries, fine, but there was a better way that you could have gone about that. But let's go over the match itself. So Adam Cole came out in the beginning. Joe didn't know what the fuck to make of it, but I think we all kind of knew where things were heading. So Joe, right out of the gate with a Uranagi to MJF, and as he was laying the boots to MJF, he goes, "Long Island sucks." Gotta love Samoa Joe. So the crowd was then chanting, "Fuck you, Joe. Fuck you, Joe." MJF was then slingshotted over the top. He tried to skin the cat. Joe then kicked him right in the head. We had a big suicide dive by Joe. Straight jacket German suplex. MJF got his foot on the rope. Joe then took MJF to the apron, And my God, I don't think I've ever seen this before. Samoa Joe, like a fucking madman, delivered a muscle buster on the apron to MJF. I don't think I've ever seen that in my life. My God, MJF's labrum must be fucking killing him. So after that, MJF, he was rolled back in the ring. He was able to kick out. MJF then mounted a comeback. He went for a Death Valley driver, but collapsed under Samoa Joe's weight. MJF tried to fight back. He delivered the Heat Seeker for a 2. Joe then with the Salt of the Earth. MJF got to the ropes. Joe then shoved MJF, or he was shoved into the ref by MJF. Bryce was down. MJF, he brought out the wrist tape. He was looking to do the same thing that he did to Samoa Joe at Grand Slam, and he couldn't get it. He couldn't get it because Samoa Joe, he stopped him midway, but he was able to get a low blow. MJF delivered a low blow to Samoa Joe, picked him up, and delivered a picture-perfect F5 to Samoa Joe. Brock Lesnar says hi. MJF covered. The ref came to. Joe kicked out in time. Joe then locked in the Coquina clutch because Adam Cole could not get the Dynamite Diamond ring to MJF. And the arm was raised once, it dropped. It was raised twice, it dropped. It was raised 3 times, and it dropped. And the ref was told to ring the bell, and Joe won the title. Listen, does it make sense? Yes, it makes sense for Samoa Joe to be able to choke out MJF. MJF has 2 injuries going on. So if you're going to have the Coquina clutch locked in with 2 injuries, with a busted hip and a torn labrum, and with the blood circulation being cut off to your head, I mean, of course, you're going to pass out. So in that regard, it made sense, but it just felt so flat. It just felt so fucking flat that Samoa Joe just chokes him out. Like, no shenanigans, no tomfoolery, no nothing. Now, the match itself was a great match. The match itself was a worthy main event. Samoa Joe and MJF are great. Samoa Joe, that was probably one of Samoa Joe's better matches in AEW. It was that match and the match at Grand Slam. Those 2 matches, his 2 matches with MJF, are Samoa Joe's top 2 matches since joining under Tony Khan. Samoa Joe looked great. Samoa Joe looked awesome here. MJF, listen, he may do with his injuries, but the ending, it's like no steam. There was no steam to it. There was no heat to it. There was no wow factor. It didn't even come off as creative. The ending was as lame and generic as you could possibly get. Now, what I would have done, and this would have come off a lot better, if you remember Full Gear 2019, when Cody Rhodes fought Chris Jericho for the AEW World Championship, you remember that match. MJF was in Cody's corner. MJF threw in the towel, and then MJF hit Cody with a low blow afterwards, turned heel on him. That right there could have been a perfect callback in this match. What Adam Cole should have done, Adam Cole should have had the towel, and Adam Cole should have seen Samoa Joe just beating down on MJF, just tearing at his torn labrum, and Adam Cole, he acted like he cared. Adam Cole would have acted like he cared, thrown in the towel in the same fashion that MJF threw in the towel on Cody back at Full Gear over 4 years ago, and then Samoa Joe wins the championship, and then Cole could have revealed himself to be the devil. That would have been a much better way to end the match, and it would have been, in a sense, a full circle moment. It would have been a full circle moment because MJF cost his best friend at the time the world championship, and Adam Cole, who's MJF's supposed best friend, would cost MJF his world title match. That would have made a lot more sense. But instead, we got this very lame, very lackluster ending. And Tony Khan, again, I don't know what he was thinking, but what he did, it kind of, I don't want to say it took away, but it kind of took away from Samoa Joe's big title win. I don't know. Were you thinking the same thing?
I mean, it at the time I really wasn't sure because I kind of did felt good about Samoa Joe picking up the victory here. I mean, I figured that's what was going to happen. Didn't know it would be quite that way. I definitely could have thought
It
about it
just
and
seemed
maybe
like a
worked that
what the
ending a little
fuck
bit
moment.
better. I mean, he kind of made MJF. He just kind of like laying like a dead fish at that point at the end of the match. Like, kind of took away from. I don't know. I don't know. It could have been better. It definitely could have been better. Like you said, now that you mentioned the full gear ending, something like that could have probably went more. Especially with Adam Cole revealing himself as the devil later on at the end of the show. Like that could have been a way to really definitely go with him throwing the towel. He cost him the title by throwing in the towel and then reveals him as the devil. Basically, you're just taking everything away from him and putting it in your hand in Adam Cole's hands in a sense. I don't know. They could have definitely worked that ending a little bit better. But the match itself, I just wanted to say hats off to MJF because it was definitely you could see his fortitude in this match. He clearly was all beat up and banged up going into this match. So hats off to MJF for hanging in there with one of the absolute best in the world in Samoa Joe, and that muscle buster on the apron. Oh my God, that was just crazy. That was one of the craziest spots I've seen in some time, man. I could not believe he actually delivered a muscle buster on the apron to a guy that was already completely banged up the way MJF was. And the way MJF was able to take that and still continue push forward with the match. Like I said, I just take my hats off to MJF, man. He's just getting some much well-deserved time off for sure. Get healed up and get him back stronger than ever, man.
Yeah, I really don't know why. I really don't know why they went forth with the ending. Again, if they were trying to tell the story of MJF just being beat up because of this 400 plus day title reign, then I get it. But it would have made sense from a storyline perspective to have Adam Cole throw in the towel and then act like he's sad and depressed and act like he feels for MJF, but MJF ultimately he's trying to tell him it's okay, and then the masked men come out. But Samoa Joe, he wins the title and then just leaves right afterwards. The masked men then came out as the crowd was chanting bullshit. They attack MJF and they hold Cole. One of them holds Adam Cole. Two of them hold MJF. And one of them has a steel chair. And Adam Cole goes, no, don't hit him. Hit me. And then MJF goes, no, don't you dare fucking hit him. You're going to hit me. So they end up turning to Adam Cole. They raise the chair. The guy raises the chair. Lights go out. Lights come back on. Adam Cole is sitting in the chair with his hair covering his face. Sitting in the chair with his hair covering his face like a fucking mafia boss in a sense. All of the men are behind MJF, not MJF, Adam Cole, and MJF doesn't know what to make of this. They all unmask, and the masked men are exactly who they needed to be. Roderick Strong, Mike Bennett, Matt Taven, and Wardlow. And Adam Cole then slicks his hair back, and Adam Cole just has this blank expression on his face. He has this blank, emotionless expression on his face. MJF then looks like he's about to break down crying. He goes, how could you do this to me? Roderick Strong just uncorks a fucking nasty knee. Roderick Strong with a fucking nasty ass knee drops MJF. And they all swarm MJF. Now, this was great. Adam Cole is just sitting there watching this go down as these men are swarming MJF. And Adam Cole has no expression on his face. No expression on his face whatsoever. Wardlow then powerbombs Max. And Adam Cole then reaches into his pocket, in his shirt, pulls out the devil mask, and just drops it on MJF's chest as MJF's world has come to an end, and we got ourselves a new top-tier faction in AEW with Adam Cole at the head of it being the number one heel in AEW. Again, a very, very nicely laid out plan. And Adam Cole, he just came off like a cold-hearted motherfucker. Like him just not doing anything, just acting as emotionless as possible as MJF is just being torn to pieces and just dropping the devil mask right on his chest. That was brilliant. It was a brilliantly laid out plan. Now, I'm not sure what's going to happen afterwards. I'm not sure if Adam Cole is seriously injured. I mean, I saw what he was able to do. He was able to walk. So Adam Cole, listen, he limped a little bit, but he was able to walk. And he kept the boot on. So if he was able to walk and he kept the boot on, that means that he's probably almost ready to come back. I would say give him another month or two. And if that's the case, then that gives MJF plenty of time to recover. Maybe we see MJF, he's not going anywhere. I just want to let that out of the way. MJF's not going to WWE. He's staying with AEW. MJF is not going anywhere. He's not going anywhere. He's going to stay with AEW, and we are going to get the culmination of this story. The next chapter is going to be written after MJF gets back from his injuries because he needs to heal up his torn labrum. He needs to heal up his hip injury. And once that heals up, he will be back on AEW TV, and he will be back in the middle of it. He's going to be back in the middle of it all, beating everyone's ass. Now, this story will now take place without the world title. With Adam Cole, I would probably say that Adam Cole and MJF, that's a story that could be taken to All In. All In, one of their marquee matches should be Adam Cole and MJF. Now, depending on how they do that, that's up to them. If Adam Cole is legit injured and he's got to take some more time off, then we could probably expect him back around Double or Nothing. And if anything, that's what I would do with MJF. I would just have MJF stay hidden probably until around April. He comes back, and now he needs to find backup. I can see him recruiting FTR. I could potentially see him recruiting Hangman Adam Page. Even though he doesn't like Hangman, he's got to recruit him because Hangman was also taken out by the devil and his henchmen. Maybe he also recruits Kyle O'Reilly because Kyle O'Reilly used to be Adam Cole's friend. Maybe he can convince Kyle O'Reilly to stand side by side with him. That right there could be a very nice story to tell. One thing is for certain, we already have one half of our Blood and Guts match. Adam Cole and his faction, that's one half of your Blood and Guts match next year. That's one half of your Blood and Guts match that should take place in July. It's gonna have to be. It's gonna have to be. Well, why would you not? Why would you not do a Blood and Guts match with Adam Cole's faction and whoever MJF is going to recruit? Now, who wins the world title? I don't know. I mean, you got Swerve, you got Hangman in there. Jay White definitely could be tied up in this. There's no shortage of opponents. For Samoa Joe. And Samoa Joe, the one thing I will say, I very much appreciate Tony Khan rewarding Samoa Joe for being such a loyal soldier and being so professional, especially after what happened with the whole CM Punk incident. Samoa Joe was one of the most professional individuals in that locker room during that time, and he got rewarded. I can't complain about that whatsoever. I wouldn't have him lose it at Revolution. What I would do is I would probably go with Hangman versus Joe at Revolution. Then I would go with Swerve and Joe at Double or Nothing. And then they would take that into All In, and we can get the culmination of Hangman and Swerve. So Swerve would ultimately win the title from Joe. And if you want to turn him babyface, turn him babyface. I mean, he's getting the reactions of a babyface. So why not give him a babyface run? So Swerve, he can win the title from Joe at Double or Nothing. That gives Joe plenty of time to do what he needs to do with the championship, even if he's going to be just a transitional champion. And then you can have part 3 of Hangman and Swerve at All In. and Swerve can get another big win over Hangman Adam Page in London. So by that logic, you got MJF and Adam Cole at All In without the title, maybe making an unsanctioned match. You got Swerve and Hangman for the world title at All In. You could do Will Ospreay versus Kenny Omega Part 3. You could do Kazuchika Okada versus Bryan Danielson Part 3. I mean, those are 4 big-time matches that you could easily sell out Wembley Stadium with. That's what I would do. That's something that I would confirm for that show. But overall, it did the whole reveal. It did exactly what it needed to do. The right man was the devil. I don't understand why people are bitching and moaning about this. Predictable, yes, but this was a good predictable because this helped the story moving forward. I'm pretty sure if it was WWE, you would all be sucking off Triple H's dick. But either way, the only thing I would have changed is the outcome to the world title match. Outside of that, everything went off fairly decently. Could it have been done better? Yes. But the outcome of the Devil storyline, it had the right guy with the right people standing by his side. And the next chapter of this story will indeed be written next year. And it's going to be fun. It's going to be fun because Adam Cole and MJF are masterful storytellers. They're masters of their craft. All right, Mac, give me one last analytical perspective, and then we're going to wrap it up.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. I mean, I think ultimately the reveal of the devil and his henchmen was the perfect reveal, was the perfect person. I mean, I think initially a lot of people already kind of thought was leaning towards Adam Cole, but throughout the course of the story, they were kind of trying to trip you up a little bit, make you really think and guess it could have been somebody else. I mean, on Dynamite this past week, you thought maybe even Samoa Joe was in cahoots with the devil and whatever was going on. They kind of made you think about, had that thought in your mind going into this match last night. I think ultimately it was a perfect reveal. Adam Cole did it, pulled it off flawlessly. The way he did it, the way he just kind of pulled Max in, the whole best friend thing, the whole you're my best friend, you're my best buddy, I'd do anything for you, and all kinds of, and it was a perfect setup, man. It was a perfect plan, and like you said, it was the perfect henchman. I was a little surprised at Wardlow at first, but it makes so much sense that he's a part of it as well. Other than that, I mean, it was really dope. I thought the way they did it, I thought it was well executed. I like. The only thing I takes away from it a little bit is Samoa Joe winning the title and kind of not having his moment because they had to obviously push forward with this storyline as well. So he kind of wins the belt and just immediately leaves the ring. That's usually not what happens when a guy wins the championship. But at the end of the day, we all understand why it went down like that, why that all took place. But I think everything was really good about this reveal, and and it's good to see it kind of wrapped up. And now like you said, we have a superpower, a super faction that is going to be a force to be reckoned with. We officially know who the Ring of Honor Tag Team Champions are now. Officially, we actually know who it is, as opposed to just being 2 masked men.
Yes.
So I think that was also a pretty cool as well to finally get that.
And it was the 2 right guys
uncovered.
too.
Absolutely. So yeah, I thought it was a great way. I thought the show was, overall it was just kind of all right overall, but it was a great ending to the show to finally get all of this out front, in front of everybody. Everybody now we know it's no more secrets, no more mystery. We now know Adam Cole was indeed the devil, and it's going to lead to something big in 2024 whenever it can all come to a culmination. Because right now, like you said, they're both dealing with MJF, Adam Cole, both obviously, neither one of them are healthy right now. They're both dealing with a lot of injuries, some injuries and things. They need to get themselves together, but we know something great is coming down the line with all of this, man. And it's going to be, like I said, they set themselves up for a potentially great 2024. It's all about execution and see how they lay it all out, man, for AEW. Sky's the limit for them, man.
Yeah, I would say that Tony Khan, he tried to make do with all the top tier injuries that he's got going on right now. The Kenny Omega's out with an injury. Bryan Danielson. He's suffering through an injury. He's performing at like 50% right now, especially with his eye. Ray Phoenix is out with an injury. God knows how many other people are out with injuries. And on top of that, the Young Bucks are out. Hangman Page is out. MJF is now going to be out. It's definitely going to be a kind of an interesting 2024 to see what he will do going forward. But the show, it started off good, then it transitioned into feeling off. Most of the wrestling was fine, but a lot of the outcomes definitely left sour tastes in a lot of people's mouths. Ultimately, it turned out to be a decent show. Some people were saying it's the worst pay-per-view that AEW has done. I wouldn't necessarily go that far. I'd probably say that All Out 2020 was worse than this. Not to say that was a terrible show. There's never been a bad AEW pay-per-view. I want to put that to rest, but if you compare this to what we got at Full Gear or what we got at Wrestle Dream or what we got at All In or what we got at All Out or what we got at Revolution, this definitely falls on the more lackluster side of things. But in terms of the main stories, they definitely have the right pieces of the puzzle in place. Eddie Kingston, he won the Continental Classic. Samoa Joe's the world champion. Toni Storm is the women's champion. Christian Cage and Adam Copeland, they're going to be continuing their program. We got Adam Cole as the Devil, and Jamie Hayter is on her way back. Mercedes Moné could be coming on in. So there's a lot of things to look forward to, and I'm going to be keeping an eye on it very, very closely. I'm looking forward to seeing what they do on the first Dynamite of 2024. We're going to keep our eyes on that, but definitely more lackluster compared to the other AEW pay-per-views that we've seen, but a decent show nonetheless, especially those last three matches and the Devil Reveal delivered. The middle of the show, quite forgettable, and I would not recommend going back to watch it. But ladies and gentlemen, that's it. That is it. That is all we got for you. I'd like to thank each and every single one of you for tuning on into the stream. You guys have been awesome. I greatly appreciate each and every single one of you stopping on by. And I greatly appreciate you, Mac. Greatly appreciate you taking the time out of your day to come and talk some pro wrestling with me. And it was a great way to close out 2023. And I will be seeing you and all the members of Hardcore Sports in 2024. We're going to have a great time. One more time, where can we find you on social media?
You can absolutely find me right here on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter /X. Right here, Mac the Giants fan. The way you see it's written up on the screen, MACDA Giants fan, man. You can find me right there. You go to any of those sites, just type in Mac the Giants fan, and I will pop right on up for you, Mac the Giants fan. And I appreciate it, DJ. I appreciate coming on here on your show, man. I appreciate the invite. I love chopping it up with you, man. You are my favorite wrestling content creator by far, man. You just break it all the way down. You know, you hold no punches, man, and I love the way you share your opinion and voice your opinion, bro. I definitely appreciate it and hope you have a very happy new year, and that goes to everybody in the chat as well, man.
Absolutely, man. Thank you very much. That definitely means a lot. One more time, hope you guys had a Merry Christmas. Hope you guys had a great holiday no matter what you celebrate. Hanukkah, Christmas, Kwanzaa. Happy New Year, happy holidays. For Mac the Giants fan, I am DJ Storms, and this has been The Rewind. But before we get out of here, very, very important, and I mean important question must be answered, and it's a question that everyone should be answering in 2024. For the last time in 2023, Mac, who runs the IWC?
DJ motherfucking Storm.
Oh, you damn right, baby. D who but DJ motherfucking Storms. And don't you ever forget it.
Cause we want retribution. Oh yeah, we want retribution. Oh yeah, we want retribution.